All right. All right. Welcome everybody to the Sarpy County and City's Wastewater Agency meeting. Today's Wednesday, February 26th, 4 o'clock. Rules for the Nebraska Opens Meeting Act are located on the north wall. Anybody in the attendance here can speak on any agenda item. If you desire to do that, just make yourself known during that time, and we'll ask you to come forward and read your name and address into the record. In attendance today, we have five of our agency members: the Mayor Gretna, Mike Evans, the Mayor of La Vista, Douglas Kindig, the Mayor of Bellevue, Rusty Hike, the Mayor of Papillion, David Black. I'm Don Kelly. I represent Sarpy County. Mayor Roseland is probably en route, but we'll get started, and hopefully he'll be here soon.
It's outside the door on the phone.
Oh, okay. Well, he is here. So, Mayor, we also have Mayor Roseland from Springfield. In addition, our agency administrator, Dan Hoynes, is here as well as our project engineer, Jeff Thompson, and Lisa will be our recording secretary today. So if you will, silence your phones. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This one works. I tried all three of them. I'm good. Oh, nice. Love it. We're going to start right away with our, well, first of all, are there any comments from the agency board members?
Stop turning.
Okay, then we'll start with reports, starting with Dan Hoynes, our agency administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, member mayors. Steady stream of work here going on. I'll talk about a couple of things that are non-agenda items and then reserve my time for some 3 specific agenda items. The non-agenda items, in the claims report, if you didn't notice, there's a pretty significant $1.2 million claim that is being requested to be made to the city of Omaha. That is for the agreement we executed in 2021 with Omaha. The per acre connection fee has not been due. We've been collecting fees since January of 21. The agreement with Omaha said the minute when we commission the system that we would have to pay those connection fees. So we've obviously been reserving those and putting them aside. But we met with Omaha. We went through what was due and owing based on the current plattings, and actual revenues received is what triggers it. We receive it, we pay them. And so this comes up to 1.2, and that really brings us even through November, or from January 21 until this month. And we tentatively agreed with them that we would make those payments twice a year. Met with them, so you'll look them up a couple times a year as we receive the revenues. I'm spending a fair amount of time finalizing the draft budget just internally. I mentioned last time we're really transitioning from a heavy capital into an operational phase budget coming through, and so we're truing that up with our historical collections based and aligning it with our rate model to make sure those things that we stay true to that. Should have that draft admin budget out to your administrators here in the next couple of weeks. We'll work with them through the month of March to get their feedback, but it will appear before this body on April 23rd. Our policies say it has to be approved by April 30th because for a 2-month period, then it's got to navigate its way through your respective governing bodies by June 30th. So nothing alarming. It's just really trying to get a grasp of what we're projected, what we've actually collected, and there's still projections going on, but I think it becomes a little bit more clear when you see the document. With that, I'll reserve, there's the WIFI amendment, the catalyst contract, and the job description salary range for the agency secretary. I'd like to reserve my comments until those specific items, Mr. Chair.
Questions for Dan? Okay, thank you, Dan. Project engineer report, Jeff Thompson.
Chairman Kelly, agency member Bears, thank you. Jeff Thompson, project engineer for the agency. Not a lot to report from my perspective this month in relationship to construction. The snow and the cold weather has precluded any outside activities as far as paving and other grounds work that they have to finish up. So not a lot to that end, but I have been working on some things in the background I wanted to make you aware of. As you know, we approved a master plan, or this board approved a master plan here in November of last year, kind of adopting the next phases of work and kind of the phasing structure of the infrastructure moving forward. I've been working with Sarpy County on a GIS application that is available through their GIS portal for the development community, as well as for all your agency members, engineering teams, and planning departments to utilize in dealing with the development community to try to help streamline some of that process. Also working on some GMP updates with Dan and the administrators that they had requested we take a look at to help streamline some of the review processes that they have. We know we need a master service agreement with the city of Papillion and the city of Bellevue. We're crafting the drafts for those along with the exhibits to hopefully start circulating relatively soon. As Dan said, been working through a lot of budget stuff, been very active in that process and taken a pretty heavy role considering last year. I think most of that fell on my shoulders, so I've been helping Mark through that and trying to get him up to speed. Lisa has been our lead on our website transition, so we will have a website coming up here relatively soon, a full migration away from the city of Sarpy, the Sarpy County website, so that'll be our own standalone platform here relatively soon. You may find on your desks I laid an article that was published in Water Online by Thomas Renner. It's an article that he had solicited some feedback and data from Chairman Kelly and myself to publish this article in an online magazine, a professional publication. Also looking at trying to get that published in 3 other magazines. I think construction or underground construction, water and sewer infrastructure magazine, and then a civil and water magazine. So getting some exposure there publicly in some of those professional articles. Still working towards the end on getting our design proposal in a format that we can present to you once we get through the WIFI loan amendment process with HDR and all the subs that we need there. And then been working diligently on flow monitoring and billing to try to get everything transitioned over so we can get Springfield on the system and working through all of our obligations there. So been working really close with Jeremy Walker, their engineering team, and our flow meter supplier, and actually the manufacturer of the flow meter itself to try to get some of the bugs worked out that we have there. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have at this time.
Questions? No, thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
Financial dashboard, Mark Suthout, agency treasurer. Did I get that wrong? Did I say that right, Mark? How do you pronounce your
That'll work. Set out.
South?
Yeah.
Okay. Won't make that mistake again until
Should
next
just be on the
month.
agenda, Mark.
It's on the agenda.
Just scroll down. There you go.
All right. This is the financial dashboard for the period ending January 31st, 2025. I just have a few things to note for this month. First is the connection fees. Connection fees actually went down $330,000 from last period, and that's due to an adjustment to allocate the funds for the remainder of the Omaha connection fee liability that Dan mentioned. That's on the claims report and scheduled to pay February 28th. That total amount is the $1.2 million. We have been accruing for this expense, and this was the latest entry to cover that liability. On the expense side, we're 58% through the year. At the end of January, we're sitting at about 44% of the budgeted expenses for the year. Moving down to the loan balances, we'll continue to see the WIFIA loan balance increase as we are actively drawing on that loan each month. We have fully drafted on both SRF loans and have been paying back the debt service for those loans as shown on the right-hand side there of that section. Pilot funds remain unchanged since earlier in the year. And cash ticked slightly down this period just due to normal business operations. So that is all that I have for you today, and I can answer any questions you may have.
Questions from Mark?
Any of the bills in the legislature, when they're talking about sales tax on utilities, give you any concern on what we've been doing with pilot?
I may interject there, Mayor, since I worked on that with Tim Gay. So we LB 117, I think, could impact the agency, but Tim has been monitoring that, and maybe I'll have him come up and address that. But okay. I don't think Mark's been read into that yet, so I'll throw him a lifeline.
Appreciate that, Dan. Any other questions?
No. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Adam, I didn't see you. Did you have anything to report, Adam, from the legal? Okay, good. Okay, that gets us to the consent agenda. If there's any items any of the board wants to see removed, we can do that, or I'll take a motion to approve as published.
Motion, Bellevue.
Second. Motion by Bellevue, second by La Vista. Any discussion? Please vote.
Mayor Kindig, I'm missing your vote. Yeas 6, nays none, motion carries.
Okay, item 6 is resolution 1, authorizing formal 2025-001, authorizing formal request to amend the WIFIA loan. Dan Hoynes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, member mayors. This is a follow-up, really, a carry on to a resolution that you passed last June. As we were finalizing the Phase 1A, became apparent that we were going to have a substantial amount of WIFIA funds projected. We now have a really good idea of what those numbers are going to be. Upon completion, you'll note that when Mark presented the financial dashboard, we've drawn about 16 million of the 45 million. We think we're real confident we're going to have 19 plus million when we substantially complete Phase 1A. The completion things out there, the decommissioning of the Springfield plant and the refurbishing, that's what's still hanging out there for 1A. But we did meet with county officials and the WIFIA officials in early January. They said it would require a formal written request from the agency to request a modification to include costs that we may incur for Phase 1B and Phase 2. Specifically, which we're pointing to and have estimates for is to do the design permitting and actual easement acquisitions of all of the 1B, which are the blue lines up here, and all of the green, which you got portions over in Bellevue, and you've got the lines all the way out to Gretna. So getting the loan modified and using those additional WIFIA funds and the ability to do the design permitting easement acquisition is going to put us in a really good place moving forward across the entire jurisdiction, create a lot of certainty for the development community, and puts us in a shovel-ready status should funds come through. And so approval of this resolution simply authorizes us to make that formal request to WIFIA, and then as we have those discussions with them, it will come back to this board and the county board for any changes pursuant to the modification discussions come in. So, and it takes them about 45 to 60 days to do that, but I'm sure it'll be ongoing. But my hope's in early May. Certainly by your meeting in May, we could potentially have a modified loan and start issuing contracts for that design, permitting, and easements.
Questions for Dan?
I just got one question, Dan. Thanks for bringing this forward to us, because I think it's one of the smartest things we'll be doing. We get that design. That design's not going to change much, so it's going to have a long life no matter what's going on. And I think that certainty will give some developers maybe even opportunity to say, hey, we want to pioneer on our own, and so they can go do the outfall while we're doing the trunk. So I think it's a lot of wisdom. The only question I've got is what you just mentioned. The agreement has both the county and the agency approving it. Doesn't that in effect give the county a veto or a kill over the agency? What's that extra? If the agency says it's the right thing to do and the agency approves it, why the extra step with the county?
Because of the nature of the backstop and the potential tax, Mayor. That's simple. It's collaborative in that nature, and they've been really good to work with on this so far, so I don't anticipate a problem, but that's a very fair question.
Yeah, appreciate it.
I think, doesn't the county actually execute the loan on behalf of the?
I think we're the actual
I think it's an
loan.
agency
Yeah, I
loan.
think we're
That's
the-
why I was
yeah,
asking.
We actually are the loan and the ones that make the request, but they've got any changes. They're our banker effectively. That may resonate with some of you on board. So,
That's different from the NDEE loan, right?
I'm not sure. I'd have to go back and check, but
Adam?
Chair, it's the same in the sense that we can't amend either SRF loans or WIFIA without the county
I gotcha.
approving it
Okay.
because of the backstop agreement.
Got it, thanks. Any other questions for Dan?
No question, just a quick comment, because I'm totally for this. It's exciting seeing that progress made. There's still a lot of uncertainty, at least with our side, with some of the prioritization of delivering the infrastructure there. And so, we feel there's still this gap between what's happening in our community and, the agency is just in a tough spot with having to do so much at once, that we still think we need to provide that request. We've tried to work with finding a solution to at least us starting the process and then melding into the infrastructure when it gets out there. So I think there's just a little frustration with council and the development committee and staff about it. Just kind of, our request has kind of stalled out over the last year or so, and we just want to kind of ignite that conversation again, and we'll share a letter just with some of our ideas, and we're just going to ask for some input and some, discussion.
absolutely, Mayor, that's a very good point, and I see your frustration firsthand. I was on a call today with the company. Interesting developing out there, and then so I would respond in this manner that it is a chicken and an egg, but creating, that's one of the reasons we've been passionate about getting the design for the green also in there. But the reality of this, if I had the $250 million beyond design, we're 3 to 5 years out of getting green lines built or blue lines. Development's going to happen quicker, and so that you've heard me also reference is the through this budget process is being to identify how we're going to use any excess revenues, surplus revenues over our budget that are coming in. But when you said talk sewers too much, my wife reminds me of that frequently. The short answer to your question, and what I told a person today, is it's not 3 to 5 years. I think that as long as Omaha is showing a willingness to temporarily take that sewer from the Gretna area, this green area out here, and they have been very willing to do that on a temporary basis, and that we can reach terms of how that's the agency's made whole in terms of the connection fees and the rates. I think that the last 2 years haven't been a total waste, because we have this framework. So the request coming in, I think it's not going to take a year to do, because we have the framework. So temporary solution to Omaha, I don't see anything standing from the agency between Gretna and development because of the work we've done the last 2 years.
Yeah, I think there's a win-win there for everybody. I think we can drive a lot of revenue into the agency too and create economic development. We kind of been fighting a lot of dragons, and now I think we've got those in a good spot. We want to get on with this and start having the discussion.
Absolutely, but the clarity is it's a boundary adjustment process that we reach terms with, and that Omaha agrees to take it temporarily, and that eventually that it hooks to the agency. Those are the three things we need to accomplish, and we've done them already. So
Well, good. Just want to give you a heads up. We'll kind of bring that conversation up again to everybody, and look forward to working with you.
I'm glad we got a little experience with it. So I know how to expect and push it forward, so it won't take so long this time.
Okay.
So.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Motion?
Motion to approve the resolution.
Second.
Motion by LaVista, second by Papillion. Any further comments? Please vote.
Yeas 6, nays none, motion carries.
Okay, item number 7 is Resolution 2, approving the professional services proposal with Catalyst Public Affairs. Dan Hoyts.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We did approve a contract formally with Tim Catalyst last year. My preface and comments here are that, I think at least 5 of the 6 of you have a lot of years' experience of working with a lobbyist and legislation. It's a little different from an agency perspective where we don't depend a lot on legislation. The primary win for us in working with Tim and Catalyst has been the ability to help us solicit funding from various sources, and Tim has had a pretty direct impact on the agency getting $14.5 million in the last couple of years. The $10 million grant, he did a lot of work with Senator Holcroft, set up meetings with the governor, did a lot of those things, and he continuously is sending us stuff and helping us there, and then also played a key role in the 2 separate community or the earmarks we got from Congressman Bacon. So his role as a lobbyist primarily is to help us go find the funding. He does, I had mentioned LB 117, I believe it is, the sales tax. I alerted him to that pretty quickly. Also, just recently, as we all woke up, I think on a Monday morning maybe, and there was a freeze on all of our federal funds. On the phone several times with Tim that day, determining the impact. So having his ability to not just help us with funding, but to call and make sure those 1 or 2 things that may impact us that he's staying on. And so it's the same terms we did add. It was absent any language on helping us with federal funding, and that's specifically a need we have. So I did add that to the contract, but would request approval of this contract and answer any questions you may have on it. 1-year contract, $3,000 per month.
Questions, comments?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, motion by Lista, second by Gretna. Just one quick comment before we vote on this.
I don't know if you want, Tim, you want to come up and say anything and maybe address that one piece of legislation?
Yeah, Tim Gay with Catalyst Public Affairs. Yeah, absolutely. Mayor, you asked about that bill. Pretty much what that was is the state's revenue they were trying to give up. But it cost $170 million of lost revenue. So we talked to Senator Holcroft, and it wasn't going to go anywhere. As Dan said, I'd be the first one if we're not doing anything for you, I don't want to get paid. Let's put it that way. And you all know, have worked with us on different items. But there are opportunities that when they do come up, like if you don't keep talking about what's going on here, people will forget quickly in this political environment. We did add that language on there, and I'm excited about the federal language. I think we can help you with that federal language. We have 2 other clients that probably you don't know, but we do. So there's federal outreach anyway for grants and things like that. So I'm excited with that. When I look at this, I know when you talk to, the delegation, this is probably as well as I do, but when you talk to them, you're going to talk about Gretna issues, Springfield issues, your own issues, right? You're not going to be talking about the joint interlocal agreement that is the agency. So I think we can do that for you and just keep saying that good news, especially as you keep building and doing some of those things. There will be issues probably where you're going to say, hey, so, this agency never got back to us. Well, I guess they're not going to call you to get on them. So hopefully they could call us and we can help with that end too. So there are still, I think, great opportunities. Another thing I looked at here too, with all your contractors, not to use up their time, but I saw like Nick is back there with Hawkins and Adam and all that. You got a lot of talent. If we get together and saying, hey, what else? What else is there that we could help? You're helping a lot of environmental issues. You're doing a lot of things by building this, not just economic development, but you've got a lot of environmental benefits to this thing too. So I don't know, as we explore that, hopefully we'd come back about, whatever 6 months and say, hey, we're looking at this, and this grant. I know Lisa helps with the grants and it's part of her role too. So just getting everyone's heads together, that's kind of what I think what we could help you with to do that. So, but then, like I say, I'm proud to be working for you if you approve this and look forward to it. So.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Tim Tim didn't even have a contract, but he set up a meeting for Mayor Kindig and I. We got a half hour of Senator Fisher's time. Thought it was really well done and a good meeting, really productive. Set up a tour for Mayor Roseland and I to take Congressman Flood around and show him some of the important things. And those things don't pay immediate dividends, but they plant seeds that hopefully will grow some oak trees that will help get us federal funding. So,
And at that level, it's their staff that is really going to be doing a lot of the work, right? Their awareness, and they say, will help, but that they got really good professional staff that is a little more permanent than the legislative staff, let's put it that way, than our state legislative staff. So,
okay.
Thank
Any
you.
other comments?
Thank you all.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, please vote.
Yea, 6, nays none, motion carried.
Okay, item 8 is Resolution 3 approving the maintenance agreement with InfraWise Solutions LLC. Jeff?
Chairman Kelly, agency member Bears, thank you. Jeff Thompson, project engineer for the agency. The agreement, or the resolution actually we have before you today, is to allow us to negotiate an agreement with InfraWise Solutions. They are actually a subsidiary company of Hawkins Construction. Hawkins approached us. As you may recall, originally the operation and maintenance of the system, there was some thought that maybe Omaha would be able to help us with that. They have declined. We talked to some of the other agency members about potentially assisting with that operation and maintenance because we have a lot of force main and lift stations. Bellevue was really the only interest that had in potentially helping us, but because of the length and breadth of our project expanding all the way in through Springfield and the jurisdictional boundaries and things, there was some concern there with that. So, Mayor Kindig, I know you are an advocate for public bid lettings and negotiating or trying to give others opportunities. When I had reached out to HDR and some other engineering firms about other companies that provide these types of services, we really didn't come up with any. So this is kind of a new area. Hawkins was responsible for most of the construction, so they have a in-depth knowledge of the system. We'll have all their full resources of Hawkins Construction, and I just ask for your consideration in approving this contract.
Questions for Jeff?
So we'll get the familiarity discount when you're negotiating this with them, Jeff?
Yeah. The prices, we did talk about price originally. It's around $184,000 for a one-year contract, which is a lot more reasonable than what we did when originally projected in our pro forma. I believe it was $500,000 is what we had programmed for on the original side with EY on what Omaha may charge us to do that. So significantly discounted from what we'd originally thought. And they have the familiarity and all the resources that we could ask for.
Okay.
Nick Batter with Hawkins is here, legal counsel for Hawkins, if we have any questions for him as well. But
You locked in that price for about 5 or 10 years, didn't you?
sure, right, Nick? Yeah, they've been very reasonable to work with, and I'll tell you, I couldn't ask for a better contractor to work with on this project. I mean, they haven't nickel and dimed us, and they've done a lot above and beyond what we would have expected for anybody to take on a project like this. So,
Great, thank you. Okay, motion, please.
Motion to approve. Second.
Okay, motion by Papillion. I'll give the second to Springfield. Any further comments? Please vote.
Yea, 6, nays none, motion carries.
All right. Item number 9 is Resolution 4 approving the sale and auction of certain surplus construction materials. Jeff?
Chairman Kelly, thank you. Jeff Thompson, project engineer. This is a little unique of a request. As you may recall, the agency pre-procured all the materials for this project, predominantly the pipe and the pumps and a lot of the fittings that were needed for the project, because at the time we were just about in the process of negotiating the CMAR contract with Hawkins. The price was escalating pretty rapidly on HDPE pipe and a lot of the other materials that we were anticipating on needing for the project. So because the agency owns all those materials, any scraps and pieces that were left over from the project came back to the agency. So we have a whole yard sitting down at Springfield's wastewater treatment plant facility right now of bits and pieces. I framed it with some as, kind of like being a shed project where you cut a 2-foot off of a 2x4 and you throw it off to the side because you might use it later. And then at the end of the project, you end up with a big pile of scrap that you either get rid of or do something with, right? So that's kind of the case here. In order to make good use of it, it's not something that we can let sit around for years at a time because the UV light from the sun will deteriorate the pipe and potentially cause degradation and structural problems with it. So we think the best thing to do is to just surplus it, try to get it on an auction and get it sold and get rid of it before we have to pay to actually dispose of it. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have with that, but that's kind of the uniqueness of this and why you probably don't see it in your own jurisdictions is most of the time the contractors will build all that into their original unit price of installation and materials, but in this case, we pre-procured all that. So,
What's the value you estimate?
you mean at auction? At the coin toss, I couldn't tell you honestly. I mean, if we can just get rid of it without having to pay to dispose of it, I think it's a win for us.
Yeah.
It's an eyesore right now, quite frankly, as well. So.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Motion, please.
Second.
Okay, a motion by LaVista, second by Gretna. Any further discussion? Please vote.
Yea, 6, nays none, motion carries.
Okay, resolution 10 is, item number 10 is resolution 5 approving professional services proposal with RJN Group for flow metering.
Chairman Kelly, again, thank you, Jeff Thompson, project engineer for the agency. The resolution before you, as you stated, is for a professional service agreement with RJN Group. RJN is a specialized engineering company that does a lot of work in the water and wastewater industry revolving around flow metering. In this particular case, wastewater is a bit of a challenge, and we've seen that in just trying to get our baseline data for Springfield. To that end, we had engaged RJN early on when we were looking at even meter selection and asked for some feedback on the type of meters that we were proposing and whatnot, and they provided us with some services there. But this would be a one-year contract for them to assist us with monitoring that data on a weekly basis, providing any feedback to improve the quality of the data, because that data is going to be used for billing purposes to both the Sarpy County folks as well as the city of Springfield. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Questions?
Is it too early to look at maybe a longer-term contract than 1 year? Or?
No, I'm sure they'd entertain as long as we'd like to go. Just because of the nature of it and the infancy that we're at, I thought it was appropriate to just look at it for a year and see how it's coming along and turning out. But I'm sure that I actually have 2 representatives from RJN, and I'm sure they'd be more than happy to extend it for multiple years.
That's a staff decision. I just asked the question. So whatever you guys would decide, I guess, if you thought it was more beneficial or cost savings.
Yeah, the proposal right now is roughly $80,000. About 20 of that includes, repair and maintenance of the actual physical meters themselves, which the agency owns. I don't expect, as new as the meters are, that we're going to have any problems with them. But just in the event that they do, they did build in some cost for that. So we're talking maybe about $60,000 annually for them to assist us with the data review and the billing associated with that. But I'm sure, Randy, I don't know if you want to speak to that, but you'd love a multi-year contract, right?
Jeff, I think if that's staff decision,
Okay.
Again, I asked the question.
Yeah.
If
Fair
you
enough.
guys want to go with 1 year, we take that recommendation, or we
Yeah,
entertain the other.
I think that's probably in our best interest right now, just to see how it goes. It's a new relationship, obviously, but they've done great work for us up to this point and have been very influential in helping us steer that ship. So I think we'll look at it maybe next year if we end up bringing that back.
Maybe next year,
Sure.
or longer term.
Sure, you bet.
Okay. Any other questions for Jeff on this one? Motion, please.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Motion by Gretna, second by Springfield. Any further comments? Please vote.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yay, 6, nays none, motion carries.
Okay, the last item, number 11, is Resolution 6, approving the job description for the agency secretary. Dan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, member mayors. Last April, the agency entered into an agreement with Sarpy County to cost share the responsibility of agency secretary that had been dual served prior to my arrival coming over here. That agreement expires April 30th, and so we are going to be proposing to make that a full-time agency position through the budget process. As part of that process, I analyzed the actual job duties that have been performed in the last 8 months for that position. I got an independent review of what the salary should be, and the recommended salary base for the agency compares to the executive assistants of the agency member mayor's 50th percentile. That's how this range was established. And so approval of this, then I would move forward with filling that position. So I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Questions for Dan?
No, I appreciate you. We had a side conversation, I think, on comparability cities, so I appreciate you using the member cities, and I think that'll be relevant when we look at the other positions too, because I think in the others it was actually bringing MUD and some of those in, and I think that skews. So using Sarpy and the members, I appreciate that.
I appreciate that insight, Mayor.
I'm thinking I might need an executive assistant here. If these guys all have it, how come I don't have it?
That's the role I serve for you, Don.
I'm just kidding. Of course.
I make motion to approve.
That's right. That's right.
Cities do more than counties.
Yeah, I know.
Let's not go there.
I make motion.
Second.
All right. Can I get a motion on this? No, we already did.
Doug did, and then
That's right.
Dave
Let's
second.
vote. Thanks.
His secretary already logged it.
Yeah, I know.
Yay, 6,
If I had a
nays none, motion
secretary, I wouldn't have made that mistake.
Yeah, it was yay, 6, nays none, motion carried.
Okay, thanks. All right. Our next meeting is March 26, 2025, and all the agenda items having been addressed as published, the Sarpy County and Cities Wastewater Agency Board is adjourned. Thanks for coming.
Okay,
I know, man.
he can